for the Sarah National events. We look forward to these each and every Thursday, and it really is a treasure to be able to hear from these speakers. And today's topic is a good one. It's actually a continuation of part one from last week. Now, even if you missed last week, it doesn't mean that you won't be able to really get a lot out of today's. Claudia is quite gifted. So it is Work Smarter, Not Harder, part two, how to successfully achieve what you want. So we got a lot of skills last week, and I hope that some of you have been really focusing on that. And if not, the replay is already up on Sarah National's YouTube channel. So if you want to check out part one, that is available for you now. Stick around for this one, and then you can watch it in reverse, and it will still make a lot of sense and still be incredibly helpful. So if you're not familiar with Claudia, let me tell you a little bit about her. She is the Director of Minority Outreach for the Grand Prairie Chamber of Commerce, which is based in North Texas, but she really has nationwide and in part worldwide experience when it comes to working in the business world. She was born in Mexico City, and she had been the national chair of AMEP and CVO, managing chair of USA AMEP Foundation, which is a Latino business 501c6 nonprofit formed in February of 2012. The goal with that group has always been to promote Hispanic businesses and professional women. They continue to really reach out to Latinas and to help them to achieve their dreams. Now, Claudia is also a lawyer who is licensed to practice throughout Mexico. Her specialization, and I think this is really important as it pertains to what we've been talking about, is in franchise and distribution law. She is also a certified business coach and helps clients with their businesses, international trade contracts, and intellectual property. And she is somebody who has been speaking for a large portion of her career. She does conferences, seminars, courses, workshops. She is a motivational speaker. She is a former columnist, which is for a Spanish language newspaper. If you're familiar with the Dallas Morning News in North Texas, it's a Spanish language version of that. She has been really at the forefront of media efforts as they pertain to business. She's also the owner of commercial real estate and works with health and body care products. She does it all. So it's really a gift to us to have Claudia Herrmann here with us today to speak on the topic of working smarter, not harder.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Jenny. I really didn't know that I was, that I had done so much. It makes me look old, But anyway, it is what it is. Yeah, I've done a lot of things. Thank God that I have been able to do that. And for me, it's such a pleasure sharing what I know and all the pitfalls that I've had throughout my life, because not everything is roses and works smoothly in our lives. You know that. Everybody has that. All right, here we go. Okay, this is part two of the Work Smarter, Not Harder. And why is that? Because we have so many things that get thrown at us: our work, our careers, our children, our parents, our colleagues, our friends, social media. So the thing is this, and I prepared this mostly for myself, to be very honest with y'all, because I really needed a nice methodology where I wouldn't waste so much time throughout the day. So I had to start segmenting my entire day from the minute I wake up until I go to bed to sleep, because I ended up being so overwhelmed with so many things. And this gave me an idea. I had to educate myself literally on how to really start working smarter and not harder, because I was awake until 1 o'clock a.m., getting up at 6, and that's no life and no time for a lot of things that I wanted to do. So this part will talk not about so much the the um the theory of it all. It will talk about how to act, and how to act starts with a very important thing, and it is our personal commitment. My personal commitment with myself and to myself to really do what I want to do, and do it in a smart and not in a hard way. So last week we talked about a bunch of things that we can do with respect to our goals. Now here we have a little bit more of theory. It is the high level goals, which are really the general things that we want to accomplish, and then the detail level. So the high level of all of it is the what, it's our goals. And then the how is the strategy that we are going to implement to actually reach those goals. And then when we talk about the detail level, it is working on our objectives, and the how means working on our tactics. So the goals, and this is a little bit of a repetition of last week, they have to be broad, they have to be the primary things that we want to do, and then we focus on the outcome. What is the big picture of we want to accomplish? Next are the objectives, and the objectives are nothing more than measurable steps that you take to achieve a strategy. And now we're going to talk, of course, about strategies. Strategies are nothing more, and very simply put, an approach to achieve our goals. That's it. It's like working with a playfield, in a playfield, like soccer. I used to watch soccer when I was a little kid because both my parents were soccer fans, and they would always watch, the Mexican national team and the German and the World Cup and whatnot. And I learned pretty on that the coaches and the players, they use a bunch of strategies, and that tactics are tools that we use to pursue an objective that is associated with a strategy. And I'm going to give you a very graphic example on how this works. This is one of my clients, and she manufactures this mezcal, which, by the way, is the it beverage right now. Mezcal is being promoted as the new 2022 and on tequila. So, anyway, we were working with her goals, her strategies, her objectives, and her tactics. So, her goal was, of course, to make this mezcal a leader in sales revenue in 2 years. Now, what is the strategy? And you can read it here. Well, of course, she has to place the product in the market, and that means persuading the buyers that her product is the absolute best. The Tierra Mágica is a smooth and nice and whatnot mezcal. And then the objective is, let's say in a medium term, to obtain and then retain a certain amount of percentage of the market, and starting with Texas, and then she wants to go to Florida and California and Arizona and other states. And then next level are the tactics, which means leveraging her brand awareness. And that means that she has to use consistent marketing efforts and visiting liquor stores and visiting restaurants and visiting country clubs and whatnot, and sponsor events to make the brand known. So here you have a very, very graphic way of how you work from a goal, and then you work on the strategy for the goal, and then your objectives, and then the tactics. And this means not only in the business world, which is, this is just an example, it works also for your personal life. And you can even apply it to your own children if you have kids. What is your main goal for your kids, let's say? And then the strategies and the objectives, and then the tactics that you're going to use for that. So I want you to do this exercise, write it down. And this is just a 1 minute exercise. But I want you to really work on it because it's so important to write all this down and everything that I asked you last week to write down and expand on it. Because that way you can really have a laser focus like this on what you want to achieve in your personal life, your family life, your work life, your social life, your spiritual life. Remember that we were talking about the 7 main areas of your life, your financial life. So you write everything down for each part of your life. We're not just a one sided entity, we have so many facets to us. So another tool is what it's called management by objectives. And it's nothing more than what you're reading here. It's a strategic approach to enhance performance. Actually, this was written for the corporate world of an organization, but you can also apply it to your own life. So the management by objectives has 6 steps. It means, first of all, starting with reviewing your organization's goals, then breaking it down into break down into the smaller goals of the main goal for you. I mean, in case of the corporate world, yes, it is the team members. Then 3 is monitoring your progress. 4th is evaluating. 5th is providing feedback. And then, of course, rewarding yourself. I mean, you've worked hard with your goals. Once you reach them, hey, celebrate. Even if it's with your own self, you don't have to do it with anybody else. So the key principles of goal setting are having clarity and passion. We talked about that last week. And this is so important, making a commitment with yourself. Let's say that you like to work until 3 a.m. in the morning, and then you get up at 11 o'clock in the morning. Well, you lost an entire morning of things to do just by laying in bed. And chances are you're going to wake up real tired. I mean, I'm telling you this because there was a point in my life where I used to do that, and I realized this is not getting me anywhere. So what do I do now? I go to bed at 10 o'clock in the morning, I mean at night, and then I wake up at 6 a.m. And it's perfect because I have all my hours of sleep, and I wake up rested, and I have clarity in my mind, and I know exactly what I want to do because the night before I write down what I'm going to do the next day. And even if it's just leisure, remember that we talked about having a goal of not doing anything, of resting our mind, our spirit, our body, just relaxing, not doing anything. I mean, it can be going to a park and sitting, I don't know, on a bench or walking on the grass barefoot, something that will nourish your soul. Next are the challenges that you put on yourself, and then the complexity of the tasks that you have at hand, and of course, the feedback. And we talked about the feedback in a more, I would say, contextual way, but I want to draw on that again. So, clarity and passion for me is having joy in what I do, having a degree of happiness and things that add value to my life. You see, our life is not just a constant like this. It's not like a graph, like, oh, this. We go up and down and up and down and up and down. We have our peaks and our valleys. And throughout the day, we have peaks and we have valleys. And we cannot be all the time happy like this. I mean, that's impossible. Nobody can do that, but we can have a general feeling of contentedness. It's like I was reading statistics about America versus Europe. Generally speaking, Europeans are way happier than we are. And that is because they take an easier approach to their own work life and their professions and their careers and their family life. They're a little bit more laid back than we Americans. And really, that is something to learn from. So, joy means also having a sense of pride in what we do, a sense of, okay, I'm here at work and I have accomplished something. Maybe a customer came in and they were unhappy about something, And I was able to turn it around. And when the customer walked out of the store, they were at least not super happy, but they were okay. So you change an angry attitude towards a nice attitude. And boy, do we ever need that in our world right now. And of course, adding value to our own life and the life of those that are around us. In my case, I work very much on my spiritual life. And why do I do that? Because I set as my mission to leave this world a better place than I when I came into it. And that is something that I talked about last week. So you write down your own mission in life. What do you want to accomplish? And believe me, you're gonna check out of this world, no matter what. We can do whatever we want, but sooner or later we're all gonna check out. So what's the value that you bring to your own life? And clarity and passion doesn't necessarily mean wealth and having a lot of money. Money is just a byproduct. I had a conversation many years ago with one of Dallas's gazillionaires. I mean, this guy had $30 million in his checking account, and that was just for his ordinary day to day expenses. And he was managing, I don't know, I think probably close to $500 million worth of wealth, oil related wealth. And he said, you know what? For every dollar that I give and everything good I do, I get back 10 times as much. It's a tenfold return. So he was very wealthy. Yes. He was very successful. Yes. But you don't have to be miserable to be wealthy, successful. You can be happy. And actually giving is a lot of it. And it doesn't have to be money. I understand nobody was, I mean, of all the 7 billion people that are living on this earth, probably the super wealthy are a minuscule percentage, maybe a 0.01%. It's not about money, it's about giving a smile. What about when you go to Starbucks in the morning and you see the attendant and you say good morning with a smile? I mean, that will come back to you. So, challenges, I mean, please forget about the stupid internet challenges. I mean, sometimes I get new in my news feed. I mean, everything that people do with regards to these challenges, and I go and I just shake my head. No, no, no. I mean, for me, challenge means it's um it's pushing myself a little bit. It's taking the extra step to achieve something. And yes, I mean, success requires effort. It tests my ability. Let's say a big challenge, for instance, is learning another language. Try learning German. My husband is doing that. It's really interesting because he has such a hard time learning a very, very difficult language. It is difficult unless you're born speaking German. So that is something that will keep your mind active. And of course, a challenge means that you're looking towards something just greater, taking that step above, and it stretches you. It stretches, of course, your own personal limits, and it stretches your mind and maybe even your body. What about I don't know, a nice exercise challenge? If you don't exercise at all, well, make it a challenge to start exercising at least once a week. And then you can set goals for that, for those challenges that you think of. Next is the big, big, big one, and that is commitment. So, commitment to me means having clarity in what I want to accomplish, plus the challenge, and that equals the motivation to actually do what I want to do. Commitment requires focus on achieving my goals, or your goals in this case. And it means, of course, having a good attitude about it. And this is something that I really want to focus on. Attitude is so important. It makes or breaks the day. Let's say, I don't know, I wake up and of course, first thing I do is I grab my coffee because I need my brain to get working. Well, let's say, I mean, I've showered myself, I'm getting ready to head out, and I spill the coffee all over my clothes. So what can I mean, it has happened to me, of course. You know, I have a soiled piece of cloth I have to change, and I'm losing time. I might be getting late because now I have to figure out what I'm going to wear instead of what I was wearing. Oh my God. I mean, I can say, oh, and cuss myself out and have a horrible attitude. Or I can say, well, I mean, things happen in life. So, next, just go to my closet, take out something else, put it on, and go on about my day instead of really having a think that here, the little thing that's buzzing in our head. Oh, what did I do this? Oh, I'm so stupid. Oh, I'm this and that. Ah, da, 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 da. And, we always have this conversation with ourselves, and it's mostly negative. Well, what about having a better attitude? And it's about everything. I mean, I'm not going to ever get tired of insisting on smile, say hi, say thank you. If somebody gives you something, say thanks. And even if you don't want it, if let's say you get a gift, I don't know. I'm going to use an example. Maybe you use very simple handbags as a lady, and you get a very fancy handbag, and you said, I'm not going to ever wear that. Well, I mean, you have a gift for somebody else who actually does like that type of handbag. Or let's say a tie for formal occasions. Somebody gives you a tie and you say, well, this is not my style, it's not my color, but accept it with a smile, even if you're not going to wear it. And then you can pass it on. Please don't give the gift to the person who gave it to you in the first place. Don't make that mistake. But it's all about having a right attitude. In this world, I've seen it so often. People get so angry at nothing. And of course, they lash out. It's not because they're doing it to you, they're doing it just because they have a bad moment or a bad attitude. And you just happen to stand in their way. And you're just the sack that they want to use to punch. Well, we just step a little bit aside and say, hey, it's your problem, not mine. Don't buy into other people's problems. And that will help a lot to get you on the right track for a right attitude. Okay, so let's talk about task complexity. Please keep it stupid simple. Don't defeat your own purpose. Whatever you do, break it down. Again, this is a repetition. Break it down into little pieces and then make every piece simple because otherwise you're going to be overwhelmed. And this is so important feedback. I talked about coaching. I have two coaches in my life. One is a lady, I love her dearly, although I met her recently. And she has helped me so much because she keeps me on track. She tells me, no, 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 Claudia, you need to do this now, and then set dates for everything. That is what coaches do. I mean, just take a look at the big football teams. They all have a coach. What would they do without a coach? And you can pick any sport. And this is the classical example. So they give you the feedback. It's so necessary that you get feedback from somebody else so you know where you're at, what you need to shift and correct so that you can actually improve and get higher. And one of the things that is so important for that is effective and active listening. Don't listen to retort and to talk back. Please listen with an intent to actually learn and improve things. Listen with an intent to learn and improve things, starting with yourself. I'm repeating it because so often throughout my career, I've had people listen only to talk back to me. And that is not the purpose of listening. If you're so in love with your own voice and you know it all and you're absolutely perfect, well, I'm sorry to tell you, no, you're not. Absolutely not. And also a good feedback, and I mean positive feedback, not the feedback of people who are envious or people who want to drag you down. Feedback can be a great motivator, and it's a tool to actually learn. Let's say that you're not very good at giving presentations online. Well, if somebody gives you feedback, of, you know what, your technology isn't working, the audio was getting cut off, or the screen froze, well, maybe the feedback there is, okay, maybe I need to upgrade my technology. Or, whatever, it can be anything. Just whenever somebody gives you feedback with a good intent to help you improve, listen and listen with an intent to learn and improve things. Third time I say it, and I'm repeating it because it is so, so very important. Now, another model, and actually I'm beginning to use this. This is something I came across, but I'm applying it to my own life as well, is the grow model. And again, this was used originally in corporate coaching. And it means going from your goal and then checking your reality and then looking at your options and then the wrap it up and I will do this. And these are all the steps that you need to take. So when we're talking about goals, and again, this is again a little bit of what I talked about last week, is choose just one goal or an outcome at a time. So let's say and this is very personal to me, I need to lose about 15 pounds. Um, it's no coincidence that they call this last 2 years a pandemic and not more than a pandemic, because we're all stuck at home and maybe we didn't have a chance to work out or we didn't have the inclination to do so for whatever reasons. So yeah, I gained 15 pounds and I'm now on track to losing it. Well, I mean, this is the general goal I have. And then, of course, it's how am I going to accomplish that goal? Well, one day at a time. It's not cutting down, I mean, severely on carbs, for instance, and working out more and taking care of myself and visualizing myself at my thinner me that I was 2 years ago. So I'm sharing this with you because I know so many people are a little bit overweight because we were stuck at home and maybe we didn't have the inclination to do a lot of things during the last 2 years. I mean, it was very disruptive, to say the very least. So, but this is a goal and it's achievable, of course. But just don't make it like, okay, I need to lose weight. Well, how much and when? And that is my when. I have decided that I'm going to shed the whole of 15 pounds in 3 months. 5 pounds a month is a very doable objective. Now, where's your reality? Reviews your situation. And then, of course, we will face obstacles. And I'm going to use my own example. Okay, my obstacles are going to be I get invited to functions almost every day. I have to be with, let's say, with the chamber's members and at their establishments. And of course, they offer food. Okay, it's very tempting because for the most part, they offer delicious things and are all full of carbs. Well, how can I cut back? I just shut my mouth. And instead of picking on the food and seeing what I'm going to get, well, maybe I devote more time to talking with people instead of eating. So that is a good thing to do. So that is an obstacle, and how can I overcome that obstacle? And of course, I mean, obstacles can be internal and external. So internal is, okay, my own appetite. External is all the food that I have in front of me that's so tempting because it's so delicious. Okay, so for you, it might be something completely different, but keep in mind that you will face obstacles and then you need to have a plan to overcome those obstacles. Write it down. This is an exercise. I want you to write down your obstacles. Okay. I didn't give you much time, but yeah, please, and I'm going to maybe go back. Let me see. Okay, here we go. Okay, when we're talking about options, you always have to explore ideas and brainstorm what should you start doing, stop doing, doing less of, doing more of, and continue doing. And again, I'm going to use my own example of weight loss. Okay, what I need to start doing is, first of all, getting rid of all the bread and the tortillas that are in my fridge. Step number one, of course, and the cakes and everything that's good. Then stop doing whenever I go out and eat somewhere. Well, if I get offered potatoes, put them aside and not eat them, and so on. And then doing less of, okay, less of procrastinating. Like, for instance, I need to work out more. And then doing less of is perhaps, going back and sitting there and doing my social media scrolling and whatnot and looking what's on there. And doing more of is actually going out and walk on the neighborhood, even if it's just around the block, and continue doing. And of course, keeping my mouth shut. It's the shut your mouth diet. and and doing more of that if I want to accomplish my goal. So write down your options, please. Pen and paper. Okay, and the way forward are actually the actions that you need to take, that you want to take, and that you know that you will take. And you you can use my example as, as a guide, but of course this is very personal. It depends on what your goals are. So write down your actions. And actually, I wrote my actions here somewhere. This is my notepad. I need to actually retrieve them from here and and put them somewhere very visible. Let's say like your refrigerator door or your mirror, your vanity mirror in your bathroom, so you can actually look at them, because you don't want to fail. And here is how we fail. First of all, when we don't write down our goals, our objectives, strategies, tactics, everything, and then the big goal and then the smaller goals, everything that we have been talking about last week and today. So if you don't put things in writing, we will forget about them. If we don't see what we put in writing, we will forget about it. So the other part is not rewarding ourselves. When I have reached my weight loss goal, what I'm going to do is I actually am going to go out to my favorite Italian restaurant and I'm going to order a pasta. Yes, I will reward myself. Why? Because I worked hard in keeping my mouth shut to achieve that weight loss goal. So whatever it is for you, write down your rewards and do it. I mean, just whatever it is. You can take a trip somewhere, it can be a little road trip, It can be a day at the lake and go fishing. It can be going out with friends, whatever it is, reward yourself. But you have to bear in mind one thing. Whatever you want to accomplish, it has to be specific and it has to be realistic. Remember, I talked about aiming very high with your objectives and your goals, but that doesn't mean that they are completely out of this world and there's no way you can ever accomplish them. So it has to be realistic while it is being unrealistic. I don't know if you can understand what I mean. Okay, in your dreams, in your visualization, you have to aim as high as possible. But once you start breaking down the little actions, they have to be realistic. And of course, you have to commit yourself to do whatever you want to do. If you don't have that level of commitment, better don't even start it. And the other thing, yes, we fail along the way. Yes, it happens. It happens to all of us. I know that one day I might go to a function and they have some nice food out there, and I'm not going to be able to resist whatever it is out there that's full of carbs. Well, the next day I might feel a little bit bad about not sticking to my goals and my objectives, but I have to forgive myself. You have to yourself. It's so important. Absolutely. If you don't forgive yourself, the only thing that will happen is that you grow resentment, and that is absolutely not good. Now, the other part of how we can set up ourselves to fail is by switching goals all the time. Okay, if we have one goal, work on it, and once that goal has been accomplished, okay, then we move on to the next one, but not jump around all the time. The other part, and that is something I learned the hard way, is having no accountability, no help, and no support. You see, in my case, I talk to my colleagues, I talk to my friends, and I'm telling them, okay, I don't fit in my clothes anymore. So I need to lose weight. Please help me with that. You know, Instead of proposing to go a restaurant that serves delicious food but completely unhealthy food, I'm telling them, okay, let's meet somewhere where they actually have healthier options so I can actually accomplish my goal and not incorporate my plan, my goals to a plan. So that means measuring myself. Yes, it means going and stepping on the scale and looking at, okay, I'm not doing so good. Yes, I'm doing good. Hey, I'm just using my example again. Not setting a timeline and a deadline and not using the resources that I have at hand. This goes for you as well. Not using the resources you have at hand to accomplish that goal, that what you want to do. And of course, not having any objectives, no strategy, and no tactic. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about forgiving yourself. I am uh, I used to be. I'm working very hard at not being again a perfectionist. I used to be a perfectionist, and I would beat myself up because if something went wrong, I would always be so hard on myself. So I had to learn how to forgive myself, and you have to be very brutally honest about that. It's very hard it's very hard sometimes to actually be able to forgive yourself more than it is to forgive others for what they do. But remember one thing, resentment and all that negative energy that the lack of forgiveness means, it can actually cause you to get sick. Remember that back in the 70s and 80s, the science was talking about psychosomatic illnesses? Well, it means you train your mind to attack your own body with your negative energy that you're swallowing every day or all the time. So, so important to forgive yourself. And we've all done things that where we just beat ourselves against, our heads or against the wall and we say, oh, come on, how could I do this? Yes, everybody has done that. We make mistakes. We're humans. We're not perfect. So, the other way that goals actually fail is procrastination. And I think I shared with you that I am a master procrastinator, and that is why I have to put everything in writing so that I know to do the things that I want to accomplish. So avoid postponing things. And because if you do, it means, first of all, that you're not very clear about where you want to go. And another big thing is fear of failure. And that is big with me. I sometimes was procrastinating because I was talking to myself, the little thing here, the hamster in my head talking to me. It's like, oh my God, you're going to fail. No. And yes, I am afraid of failing because I failed in my life. And that's not good. It's not a good feeling, but you have to face it. Fear is not about walking away from it and pretend it's not there. Whatever causes you to fear, fear means that you have to face it head on. And instead of just either running away from it or punching it in the face, it means walking with it. Okay, fear. Okay, here you are next to me. Let's walk together. I'm watching you. Okay, fear, here you are. I'm watching you, but you're not going to control me. So that is what, at least what worked for me, the right attitude to facing that. And procrastination, of course, also means lack of motivation. So once you get motivated about something, yes, you will accomplish it. Absolutely. And as I said, perfectionism, a lot of us suffer from that. Yeah, I saw a little hand raised there. Yes. But over time, I learned not to be a perfectionist because I'm not perfect. And the other thing is we have task aversion. Some of us. Some of us just, go straight on and we accomplish whatever we want to accomplish because I do it no matter what. Well, for instance, in my case, I am averse to numbers. Oh, numbers and I just don't go well together. Why? Because the brain part that controls the numbers, in my case, it's non existent. I mean, I need a calculator to do the most simple things. And if I have to tinker with Excel sheets, you wouldn't believe how much I actually suffer. I don't like numbers. And yes, I mean, I always put it off. Like yesterday, I mean, I had to manage a lot of bills and whatnot. Well, I saved it for last. Why? Because I wanted to make sure that I got things right. And and I know I was working with my task aversion. I hate numbers. So, okay, I left it for the end, but I did it. So, I mean, this is just a thought. Everybody has a different task that we are averse to or something that we don't like. Okay. So, how can we avoid procrastination? First of all, and this is something that sometimes is hard to do, is do what you love. Absolutely. If you love something, just do it, even if you have a little time to do it. Let's say you like cooking, just to give an example. Okay, you might come home, you're tired, but cook at least a soup or something simple that won't take more than 10 minutes of your time if you like cooking. Or if you like painting, I mean, just a few strokes every day. You have to have the end goal in sight. Okay, I want to eat healthier no matter how tired I am. I'm going to prepare a delicious but healthy soup or whatever it is. And that means, of course, a high level of awareness and of observing yourself to avoid procrastination. And again, to avoid procrastination, it goes back to breaking down the goal into smaller pieces and then organize all the activities around the big goal and then around the smaller goals. And again, celebrate your big and small successes and manage your time. Remember that last week I talked about using a calendar and using a planner. if you have it in writing, and I know it sounds old school, but actually it's very useful if you can use something like this. When you have just the little screen, exactly, the little screen of your telephone, well, chances are that you're going to miss something. Why? Because the phone is so cluttered with things, all the apps that we have there, all the social media. Every time we get messages on social media, we see our emails on our phones and we have to answer them often immediately. So why don't you use pen and paper and write it down? And that will help you to visualize it in a very good manner so you can perfectly manage your time. Okay. And then, of course, discarding bad habits. It's like, and here I have a whole set of bad habits. And I am one that, well, I had some of these bad habits and I'm still working on them. Bad habits, not planning, the lack of self discipline. We talked about that. Staying asleep late because we're binging something on Netflix or whatever streaming platform we're using, wasting time on social media. Yes, sometimes we get something really funny and we laugh a lot, or we just chime in into a conversation and everybody's criticizing something or somebody. And we have to, of course, add to that. And then when we just look up, oh my God, I wasted 3 hours criticizing. Not constructive criticism is not a good criticism. Not setting our priorities, complaining, being negative. Oh my God, that's a big one. How many people don't wake up and finish their day complaining about something or somebody? Whether it's in politics and sports and happenings in the world and in our community, at home, whatever it is. But human beings are big complainers. And I have worked a lot on being aware of complaining. And I really make an effort to stop complaining. And then, of course, being paralyzed by the fear of failure. Just talked about that. And leaving tasks to the last minute. And then when we do them, when we're completely tired, well, chances are is that we're going to make a big mistake there. So write down your own bad habits. I've done that. Okay. The other thing is planning. I just showed you my planner. Very important. And schedule. And yes, we all have to use our phones too because we're on the move oftentimes. But also use something to schedule, and it better be in a paper format because that way we have it visually in front of us. Okay, so and this is the end of this. I'm gonna talk very quickly about time management. This is a time management matrix that I found, and it actually has proven to me at least very, very, very useful. And it's because I can write down what's urgent but important, or not so very urgent, but yes, it is important. And then what is urgent, but it's not so important. And then what is absolutely not urgent and not important at all. So that way you can segment your time into different parts and know where to start and know where to end. And please take a screenshot or take a picture of this. This is actually very, very useful. Okay, so poor time management leads to procrastination, multitasking. I know that we women are hardwired to multitask, and everybody who's a mom knows that. On one hand, we have the baby here we have the phone, and in front of us is the computer with an email that comes from a client that we have to answer. So, yes, we're hardwired for that, but you know what? For the brain, and this is science. This is something that I got from the University of Texas at Dallas. They sent me things about brain health. Multitasking is one of the worst things that we can do to our brain. And actually, in the long run, it is a factor that contributes to Alzheimer and other types of dementia. So I am very mindful of that. And now I'm focusing on only one thing and try not to do many things at once. Distractions and interruptions, yes, we have them, but we have to work on trying to minimize them. And of course, I mean, a poor forecasting ability. When we know that we have a deadline and that we need to accomplish something, we need to forecast, okay, what do I need to do to get from point A to point B? And in the meantime, all the activities in between. Okay, because we don't want to fall into the Sisyphus effect, which means if you remember the legend or the tale, Sisyphus was a god who was condemned to push a rock up a mountain, and then it fell down, and then he had to start all over again till the cows came home, or for all eternity. So Sisyphus effect in our corporate world, in our modern day-to-day world, it means we have a stream of incoming demands and then endless to-do lists and then endless open tasks. And when we finish something, oh my God, we're overwhelmed by something else. So let's avoid that. And it means working to tear down the barrier of where we have, on the one hand, we have all the demands and then our response. And it means integrating our life into in such a way that we can face the demands and have an adequate response and manage our time doing that. So yes, we have to factor in that we're going to get distracted, we're going to get interrupted by whatever, but we need to work with those barriers and go around them. Or actually, sometimes it is necessary, and I'm just thinking about it, sometimes it is necessary to set up a little wall between all the demands of everybody around us and our response and our ability to actually meet the demands of everything that's around us. And please don't overstuff your day. That is so important. I mean, if you are overwhelmed by stuff that you need to do, you have your bosses or your family or your clients demanding and demanding and demanding, it's important sometimes to just say, no, I cannot do that. I only have one head, two hands, 2 feet, one body, and I cannot do it all, no matter what. So don't overstuff your day and don't let others overstuff your day. And that means also prioritizing. Okay. And it's very simple. Will there be an absolute disaster if I don't do, you name it, right now, today? So it's very important to start with what is really a priority and what is important but not exactly a priority. And then actually some people say postpone non-essential tasks one day. It doesn't mean that next day you postpone them again, but it means that next day you actually work on them. And that might help clear all the clutter of things to do. And the other advice that I found and that I am applying to my own life is being proactive. Okay, I can only do so much. much. And I have my to-do list for the next day. And okay, I start my day with that thing that I postponed and I start on time. Instead of wasting time, okay, I come to the office and then I hang around and I talk to everybody and I get a coffee and then I do this, do that. Well, I mean, just start on time. Don't waste your time. Okay. So I think I'm done now. Yes. And I am here for you. I didn't have time last week to say that I'm here for you. I am willing to talk with you and work with you on your goals. So I'm willing to work with you, and it will be my great pleasure to do that. And I would absolutely love to sit down with you and give you some coaching. I needed coaching too, and I worked on it. So you have two options. You can say, heck yeah, I want to work with Claudia. I'm going to call her up and I can guide you and share my mishaps, my my successes and everything with you and everything that I learned so that you can achieve your goals too. Or you can say, well, nah, that's not for me. So here is my contact information. And again, I mean, please feel free to take a screenshot or take a picture of this on your phone and you can contact me.
Claudia, you rock. We are almost done with our session, but I think it was time really well spent. I'm going to put your email in the chat. Oh, shoot, I was going to, but it went away. Claudia at C.
hfconsultinggroup.com.
Okay, we've got 30 seconds, Claudia. I'm going to ask you the question that was most put out there, and that is, how do you turn around your attitude when you're really feeling beat down and feeling like you've got a bunch of hits against you, a bunch of losses, maybe some perceived failures? How do you turn your attitude around? We've got like 30 seconds.
Very quickly. I mean, I turn into my spiritual self. And first of all, I start by taking a deep breath. And then what I do is what I call a centering exercise. I relax myself from head to toe, and then I work on clearing my mind of clutter. And I can teach you to do that. Unfortunately, there's no time to do that today, but I can teach you to do that. It has worked wonders for me. And actually, I do that when I go to sleep. I never finish with a relaxation because by the time I get to my shoulders, I'm completely asleep and I sleep deep.
Oh my gosh, I think that's a perfect way to finish. I am the same way. I rarely get through a guided meditation without falling asleep if I'm doing it at the end of the night. Claudia, thank you. You are a true gift. This was a lot of fun. You guys, her email address is in the chat, Claudia at chfconsultinggroup.com if you want to reach out to her for more. Also, don't forget, if you want to go through and sort of replay, if you didn't get a chance to write everything down. I know she was trying to really put as much information as possible into to the hour. The replay will be up on YouTube by Wednesday. So by Wednesday, also in the meantime, if you didn't catch part one, I highly recommend going back and checking out part one. That's on Sarah National's YouTube channel. I just had a bug fly in my mouth. Oh my goodness. With that, we will close it out. And I'll see you all next week. A little protein. All right. See you later. Thanks, Claudia.